All right, thanks for being here. And my main field is environmental science, even though here I teach at 3 schools. And at this school I teach biology, and I teach environmental science and animal behavior and biology at Columbia College downtown, as well as Columbia College of Missouri, where I teach biology and environmental science. And I don't go to Missouri, but I go to Gurnee and Crystal Lake. So anyway, what I do in my classes, no matter what class I teach, I always bring up the environment, because that's a passion of mine. And just an aside, just by chance, I have written 2 books on the environment, so if anybody wants them. Today, I have The Earth is My Patient. This, we have a special deal today, since we're talking about greed, 2 for the price of 10. And so I share that. And then this other one, which is called Prognosis Disaster. I have this in both hardcover and softcover. And these, I just sell them basically for what they cost me, if anyone's interested. And I can also give my books away on the internet. I have them online. I can send it, it's only 4 megs. So if anybody wants them, just email me and I'll give them to you on, by email. Those are free because we don't have to worry about the paper. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is talk about how money and greed are destroying the planet's environment. And I'm a real fanatic, because during the years we see, unfortunately, a deterioration. And why do we have a deterioration? It's mainly because of money and greed. And we see that in the presidential race now, that we're trying to get money out of politics, and money corrupts. I'm sure you all know that. And so we're going to see how it affects the environment. Now what I have here, yeah, that's pretty cool, that curtain up there. What is the definition of greed? Well, as you can see, greed is an excessive desire to acquire or possess more than what one needs or deserves, especially with respect to material wealth. And this is where I got it from, the Free Dictionary. I'm sure you can figure out some other definitions of greed. And unfortunately, greed is very not nice. So what I'm going to do today is talk about these topics. Exxon and other oil companies. And today and yesterday, something interesting has happened, and I'm going to explain to you about that. And we're going to talk about Flint, how we all know the children especially are being poisoned by the water there, thanks to the government wanting to save the equivalent of $100 a day. We're going to talk about Nigeria's oil problem. We're going to talk about palm oil, that's right, the oil that you get in many of your foods and other things. And then, of course, we mentioned some politicians with their stupidity. And we're talking about melting. And all these have to do with money. And so it took me a few months to put this together, and I think today you're going to get your money's worth. I want to first talk about Exxon. And before I go into the nitty-gritty, something real interesting happened 2 days ago. And yesterday, as you all know, Houston got rained upon, right? Now, what's so interesting about Houston is that that's Houston and other cities in Texas is where the headquarters of the oil companies are. And guess which companies are responsible for the climate change? It is basically the oil companies. But we all hear that you know, oil and coal and gas are polluting the world, but also, to make matters worse, as you're going to find out in a few minutes, Exxon, and they're the ones I'm going to pick on the most today, 40 years ago, they developed an extremely good research program, because they knew then, that's right, in the 70s, that their product was destroying the climate. So what did they do? They equipped a ship with very good technological research equipment, and they got very good results. But of course, they were not happy with the results, because if it were found out that their product was polluting the planet and destroying it, they would go out of business. So it is today that I'm going to talk about this specifically. And yes, I do mention names. These guys deserve to be named, because I didn't invent them. They exist. And I want to show you something first. I want to show you what's in the news, and I got this. This is real cool. If you've been reading the news, Houston has gotten over 18 inches of rain. Now, why did that happen? This is the first time in history, I think, they had that much rain. What I have here, I want to show you a video of it, but I also did something else. Now, let me show you that. I put this, if we can get this to work, which we should. Just wait, and I also added something special. This is the commercials. It's very hard to get rid of commercials, see? Everything has to do with greed. So let me stop this, and then I want to show you that, just a second. If I can wait till we get this finished. Earlier, when I went on this, they had a different advertisement. Oh, yeah, they keep changing. Let's go. There we are. Come on, going up there. Oh, here we have two. Hold on. Now, yes. Hold on a second. I don't even need the sound, and I'll show you why. Okay, you can see what's going on there, but I also have something else to add to the sound effects, and that's this one. Shut this off. See if we got two of them going here. Hold on. There. Let me Now, there's the mayor of Houston. Hold on, I just have this there. I just want to show you what I have here. Seems like we have a little technical here, but I'm getting it. Let me just go back here, and here, and here. Oops. Hold on. There we go. Let's try this there. Here it is. I'm playing Houston for you, the song. That should have been. I had it. Oh well. Okay, I'm playing Houston while you're watching this, so anyway, let's go back here. Anyway, I just thought I'd play that, and let's get going here. Okay, come on. All right. Anyway, so I wanted to play this because Houston, again, is where all the companies, or most of them, are there. Anyway, let me get this back. There we go again with the commercial. But,
They left their feather duster. They're going to need it.
Go to Geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
okay. This just happened the other day. Get the lights. Oh, there they are. Yeah, that's good.
So they eventually reached dry land. More than 13 inches of rain fell in just 6 hours. Some areas receiving as much as 16 inches in the downpour. The fast rising waters have caused at least 5 deaths so far. One man found in an 18-wheeler in high waters. 2 others found in submerged cars. Authorities not able to respond to every call for help because of the high flooding. There's flooding in every part of Houston, according to officials.
This is not the day to be on the roads in the city of Houston, or quite frankly, in our region. So unless it's an extreme emergency, I'm encouraging all who's going in to stay at home.
Bus and rail service in the city is suspended. Schools and government offices are closed. And though residents are urged to stay home, some still attempt to leave. This family trying to escape the floods in a canoe. More than 1,200 water rescues have been performed in the state. Watch as this local news crew in Houston urges a man to abandon his car as the water rises quickly around him.
Dude, you got to get out of the car. You got to get out. Swim. Swim. Leave the car. Swim. Leave the car. Swim.
This was just yesterday.
saw it on the news. I was amazed.
The car is going to disappear. And this takes place in Houston, and that's where many of the oil companies are. So I think, in a way, it's quite fitting. There goes the car.
Just in time.
In addition to the rain, the storm brought hail the size of golf balls seen here at this golf range in Houston. Cars all over the area were at a standstill, unable to pass through the storm. Residents were trapped in this Houston apartment complex, unable to make it down to the first floor because of the water. The flooding is not over. Heavy rains will continue through Tuesday before the storms move on. Jennifer Gray, CNN, and Flint.
You want to get the lights a little bit, just not all of them, just a couple of them. Yeah, right there. Now, now, why am I impressed about that? Well, because they kind of deserved it. Now, I think the people in Houston will be angry at me, but anyway. Now, if we've noticed here, I put together a whole bunch of gas companies, and it did work before. If we don't see it, we don't see it. But many gas companies, oil and gas, are in Texas. Okay, this is giving me a hard time, so we will dispense with this. It all says wait for the program to respond. Seems like the internet here is giving me a hard time. Huh? Oh, it is? Yeah, all right. So we have to wait, because I can't even get out. Wait. Okay. Anyway, I got lots of stuff. I think, oh, it is slow. You had that problem earlier?
Yeah.
Maybe we do this, control. Oops, that's not working. That works. Okay. So what's happening now? Waiting. Okay. Boy, this is something. Debbie? Thank
So you might just want to restart it.
Yeah. Restart the.
Restart it.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. There. Now let's see. Oh,
And then, are you running it from your flash drive?
yeah. No.
Right.
Well, I put it on there. Maybe let's see what happens.
So I would say try it from the desktop.
Yeah. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now, okay, so let's go on with this. And what I want to do is first, there were a bunch of articles that I just want to show you. Maybe I shouldn't show you that because you may have to get on the internet and they'll mess us up. Where it says profit, there's a bunch of newspaper articles written by a person who works for the Huffington Post, and this guy's a genius, and he put together all his articles relating to the environment. So, I don't want to show that now, maybe later if we can make sure this thing works. But anyway, I want to show you the headlines here, and this has to do mainly with Exxon. Okay, Chairman retired in 2005 and was succeeded by Rex Tillerson. Now, I'm going to show you what he has done, and then I'm going to show you what his golden parachute was. We all know a golden parachute is a retirement package, okay? Well, I'll tell you what that is. But let's first listen to him speak when it comes to climate change and how he tries to deny the issue. Yeah, this one's working. Oops, there it goes. Now read what it says.
Proponents of the global warming theory say that higher levels of greenhouse gases are causing world temperatures to rise and that burning fossil fuels is the reason. But scientific evidence remains inconclusive as to whether human activities affect the global climate.
We found trail documents that go back to 1977. Exxon knew carbon dioxide was increasing in the atmosphere, that combustion of fossil fuels was driving it, and that this posed a threat to Exxon. At that time, Exxon understood very quickly that governments would probably take action to reduce fossil fuel consumption. They're smart people, great scientists, and they saw the writing on the wall.
collecting data of the southern Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, and the western Indian Ocean. Basically, every hour we would get several measurements. So
Oops.
I called it a data monster.
I think we have to take it off of there loud. That is loud.
We were committed, we were doing some serious science. It was a significant budget, I would say on the scale of $1 million a year. And that was a lot of money in 1979. We were generating what we thought was state-of-the-art information. We were doing science that we didn't think in any way, shape, or form would be questioned. And there was no questioning that the atmospheric carbon dioxide was increasing, that atmospheric carbon dioxide was going to change the climate in some fashion. The question was how fast, how much, and what kind of impacts would it have overall to the planet.
I think all of this is surprising, given what Exxon started to do in the 90s.
Many scientists agree there's ample time to better understand climate systems and consider policy options. So there's simply no reason to take drastic action now.
They claimed that there wasn't enough science to back any kind of decision to reduce carbon emissions from the combustion of fossil fuels, when in fact, by the time they started staking out that position, they've known the science for probably about 15 years, if not longer. They ended up instead leading the denial and clouding of public perceptions of science. I mean, the change is amazing, and that story is what's not known.
Okay, so did you see? He's trying to say the science isn't clear. You see the point? That's what they all do. So they rather risk the world and say, well, the science isn't clear, then do something about it. When people ask me, is global climate change really a result of human activity? You know what You know what I tell them? I tell them it is better to err on the side of caution rather than do nothing. See the point? Okay, that's what I tell them. So, of course, he didn't want to do it because if he did, if he became cautious, that would mean less money for him and his buddies. Do you see it? I mean, I just tell it the way it is. That's what it means. Why, we can't stop oil. We have to keep cutting, chopping, digging, drilling, and polluting. We got to keep our buddies rich, okay? Now, let's see what his compensation was. This is really phenomenal, and they call this a golden parachute. So, let's say he was, let's see, where is this? Come on. Don't tell me it froze. Still there. There it is. Just takes a while. There it is. Okay. He got, Exxon chairman got $400 million, which means it's roughly, you divide that by 10, let's see, 40 years, 10 million a year for destroying the atmosphere, right? That's what it comes out to. You figure he knew for 40 years, 10 times 40 is 400 million. I mean, how much money do you really need, right? Hey, I'm doing fine. I make a lot less than that, you know. I'm doing fine, and I enjoy life, you know. Really, I don't have more than one house. In fact, I just live in one house, you know. But the point I'm making is, you see, so it's called the golden parachute, folks. That's what they call it. I don't know where the word parachute came from for this. We all know that protects you from leaving a plane and landing on your feet. But anyway, so here, what's it say here? This is what. Here, look, Security Commission revealed Raymond's retirement deal, a $551.1 million check, paycheck, the equivalent of $141,000 a day. I mean, come on, really. How much? $6,000 an hour. I would say that's a little bit higher than the minimum wage, wouldn't you? See the point? So, they like reward these guys for destroying the planet, and this is what we constantly do, because the politicians, they are like skeletons. Do you know how politicians are like skeletons? Or why was the skeleton afraid to cross the street? The simple reason, neither of them have any guts. See? And you know, that's the fact. The politicians would crack down on these people. So you see? So they're rewarding this guy. So you figure 40 million a year, what is it? I mean 10 million a year for polluting the world. What the hell? That's chicken feed. Yeah.
I mean, if the government, was this with the government's approval, they were forwarding the information to the government? Where was the government when they started their development of you know, that,
Oh, that-
working on the atmosphere, when they put that ship out there, you know,
That's a good question.
where was the government?
That I couldn't answer.
Why wasn't their vote out there first?
Because, you see, I don't think they knew much about it at the time.
Yeah,
That's
but
my belief.
They were opening their eyes, they were,
That's a good question.
where in the hell was the government?
Well, let me tell you something, I'm glad you brought that up. I was in graduate school from 1972 to 1974, and I went to Long Island University. We were in New York, and the person in charge of our department, he was a microbiologist, and he mentioned to us, and I'll never forget this, and at the time I didn't really pay that much attention. He said that we missed getting snow by 1 or 2 degrees, and this was in the 70s, you see? So evidently he knew something was up. See, in these days, climate change was not a big deal because nobody really thought about it. That's what I think. I mean, I can't give you a definitive answer why the government didn't get involved, but I believe that to be the case, that it wasn't such a big deal. But somebody mentioned to the Exxon that, your product is destroying the climate. And even then, somebody who was really bright knew that something was up. That's the only answer I can give. Now, I don't think the government would dare deny something like this, although we do have 2 climate deniers. Well, one in particular, James Inhofe, you ever hear of him? He's the senator from Oklahoma. In fact, he wrote a book calling it a hoax, the greatest hoax. And he comes up with some reasons. I didn't have time to read that because I have more important things to read. But when anyone says that the climate is not changing and all this, how come Houston now, I think the way to get downtown, you got to hire a boat instead of a taxi, right? That would make more sense, or a helicopter. Anyway, but you made a good point. Like I say, I wish I knew the answers. Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's just like he's getting such a bad rap, which he really, he initiated
Yeah,
the
I showed it.
program. Whereas, yeah, his parachute is full of money,
Right.
but, he actually started the process of something being done about.
Right, but then you see, when
Then
you
he
find out
covered
the
it up.
facts. Yeah, don't bother us with the facts, is what's happening. What's that? You're finding out we're polluting the world? We can't have
But
that.
they
You're
spent a
fired.
lot of money on this project.
Yes, they did at the time. So what did they do with it? They just buried it because
Throw it
it
away.
was against what they wanted, you see? They wished. It's not destroying the atmosphere, you see? Wouldn't that be nice if the results you get?
Yeah, but they're not the only ones.
I know, but they were the main ones because that was one of the world's biggest companies.
The number
Now,
one.
let me tell you, I have to bring in this name, Joseph Calandra. I don't think anybody knows that name, but I know that name very well. There was a company in Northbrook called Industrial Biotest. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That was an organization where, in order to have pesticides permitted by the US EPA, they had to go through the industrial biotest labs where they would do tests on rabbits and mice and birds to see the effects of the pesticides, okay? And many of these results were negative. They were not good, but they paid off Joseph Calandra and stuff to falsify the results. And his whole company got busted. Now that's not far from here in Northbrook. I was working for a consulting firm in the EPA dealing with pesticides, and I used to see his signature sign off on everything. And then a few years later, he got indicted for fudging results, you see? So this is what they do. If they don't like the results, either fire the guys or hire someone else who give you positive results, you see? Unfortunately, this happens. Now, I don't know how often it happens.
Quite often, I would imagine.
What's that?
Over the years, it's happened quite
Well,
often.
probably, yeah. We see this all the
People
time.
go to jail all the time.
Yeah. Trouble is, the jails are not full of these so-called white-collar criminals. They're full of people who don't belong there. But that's another story. I don't want to get into it, with sociology. By the way, environmental science deals with everything. Oceanography, sociology, medicine, math, physics, everything. Anyway, now, there are a bunch of websites associated with climate change. And this one in particular, I'm just going to show you them because I have a lot more to cover here. This one is called Inside Climate News. This is a real good one. InsideClimateNews.com, all one word. Get a whole bunch of stuff here. CO2's role in global warming has been on the industry's radar, you see? It's even been there for years. This is really one of the greatest environmental websites, okay? It shows you a lot. And here, this one, look up there on the right. Well, I'll be a son of a gun. Look at this. Inside Climate News is a Pulitzer Prize finalist for Exxon investigation. You see? So this is one of the better sites. And by the way, I don't know if anybody knew about what went on in Aliso, California. Remember Porter Ranch? Anybody remember that? That's where they had the methane leak because of the SunCal gas company. You know, it was one of California's suppliers of gas, you know, natural gas. They had a leak which lasted for a few months. And they really didn't want to do a superior job in shutting it down because they felt if they did, it would cost them more money and they would lose more gas, which they couldn't sell, you see? And of course, methane, by the way, I'll get into this in another day, heats up the planet about between 32 and 85 times more than carbon dioxide does, you see? So that's the problem. Anyway, let's go back here and see what else we have. So, then we have another one. This one's, it's a very good one, but it's sad because this one's called Arctic News Blog and Blogspot. And this really gives you information about the Arctic. And this is where we see the effects of climate change the most because of melting ice. And I'll allude to that later, okay? There's a whole bunch of interesting articles on this. And this is called Arctic News Blogspot, okay? That's another one. And this mainly deals with the Arctic. And like I say, it's got a lot of information. And I don't want to depress you, but it's kind of depressing reading all this. You know, every time I do these presentations, I have to do a lot of research. And it's quite depressing, to be honest with you, all the results I get. But I figure it has to be said, and I just have to live with the depression, I guess. All right. Then we have Think Progress. What can you do? You got to say it, whether you like it or not. Come on. Going on here. Anyway, you got Think Progress. Let's go on to another one. These are just special websites. What's that?
There's just a little X for the ad.
Oh. Oh, there was a box up there? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Our future may hold less food thanks to climate change, you see? Oh, by the way, since we're talking about him, I just want to tell you something about our media. We have a celebrity-fixated media. They spend more time on issues like this than the real issues which are affecting your daily life. You know that? Who cares about movie stars, athletes, football players? I care more about the environment, but then maybe I'm different than most. But you got to understand, if he's got to realize too, if everybody's dead, there's not going to be anybody left to watch him play the game. You see, that's the point, and that's where we're heading. I tell you, I tell it the way it is. I do not pull any punches. All right, so I don't know how that got up there. I had nothing to do with that. Okay. then we have the climate hot map. This is a real great one. This comes from the Union of Concerned Scientists, which I am a proud member of. And they mainly deal with climate change and getting rid of nuclear weapons, which I'm on a crusade now to help do. And anyway, here we see another one. This one's great. This one has literally tons of information. It goes into the oceans, fresh water, people, ecosystems, and temperature. All you got to do, if you log on one of these, it shows you. Yeah, this one's in Bordeaux, France. It tells you a whole bunch of stuff. This is really one of the greatest web pages ever. You got a tremendous amount of information called the Climate Hot Map. And I'm telling you folks, if you go on these, you really learn a lot. And the media, I'm sorry to say, I hope nobody here is a journalism major. If you are, I hope you're not angry at me because I teach at Columbia College of Chicago downtown, and I mentioned this fact to one of my students where I teach biology. I teach there on Fridays. We have like a 4-hour class. We have a lecture and lab all at one time. And I was mentioning this that the media is dumbing us down, and this journalism major got angry at me. I said, well, look, that's what they're doing. If you disagree, then we'll discuss it, and maybe you can do something about it, you see? So anyway, this is a great one, this hot map. And this is really an incredible site. So there are many of these. So let's do one more, nature climate change. That's another one. I'm sure many of you have never heard of these. But if you look around, you'll find that there's probably a lot more. Now, as we approach the year 3000, I know we have a long way to go, but we're having more and more of these, okay? So here's this title. It says CO2 concentrations and crop water productivity. You see, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And anyway, there's probably new ones coming out all the time. So this is why at least it's brought to our attention. The only thing is the media doesn't tell you about this because it's all about money and celebrities and all this other stuff. And this is why, you know, I don't think we're actually progressing. you know, and anyway, you get the point. Now, if we look here, this is real interesting. This was taken by satellite. If you see all the cities there, you see, lit up. Why are they lit up? Because they all need energy. And a lot of that energy is coming from carbon dioxide. I mean, from the production of carbon dioxide, right? In order to get energy, you got to heat the water, you got to burn the fossil fuels, oil, coal, and gas, and even nuclear, and that's not such a good thing. All right. Anyway, so much for that. I guess you get the idea with the oil companies. Next, I want to talk about the Flint water crisis, because not only is it affecting greed, affecting the external environment, it's affecting the people there too. So their so-called internal environment. Okay, we know about this. I just want to show you little things about the Flint water crisis. I got lots of stuff. Hey, what do you know? This thing is working here. Okay, we all know lead. Of course, we hear too much about lead, but if you have lead in your body, it's quite bad for you, okay? And one of the reasons we wanted to get rid of lead paint, especially in older buildings, is because children like to eat it, and it's called pica. Pica is the problem where they eat strange things. Lead paint is actually, I believe, sweet to kids, okay? Therefore, they want to eat it, and of course, it's a neurotoxin, which means it affects the brain, okay? So, there we have one article on that. I have lots I want to show you about what went on in Flint. And then, we have this problem here with new crisis for Flint, cost of home damage caused by city water. And of course, let me just show you this. If that one will come up. Oh, no wonder it was low. Yeah, that was low. There we go. That should be better. Okay. I don't think this. Yeah, go out and watch it. Lynn, there you go. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I fixed the sound.
Right now, during the big tire event, get a $120 rebate by mail on 4 select tires.
Okay, guys, go out and get one right after this today. Get your tires. Come on, hurry up. All right. There it is. This is a history.
People have dumped in this river forever. It's like we're in a cesspool. My eyes are burning. I can hardly breathe. My skin's all rashed up, you know, and I'm furious about it. If you want me to be happy, give me some fresh water.
The goal is to get to every household in Flint in terms of making sure they have an opportunity for a filter, for blood tests, for what they need in terms of water to be successful while we go through this
He's another
period until
bad
we get a
guy.
long-term solution.
That's the governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, there was some good news about these guys. 3 people have been arrested for the problem. Okay, now I want to show you this. It was in the news today. Are under arrest. 3 of Michigan's bigwigs, so to speak, that dealt with the water industry are under arrest. They face charges because of what they have done. Now, I want to show you something. If you look at this, this shows you how much lead is in the water. You're not allowed to have more than 15 parts per billion. Parts per billion means, let's say I have a billion gallons of water, and I have 1 gallon of lead. That's how much will be in there, okay? That's an easy way to express it. We talk about air pollution, we're talking about parts per million, okay? But, so the normal, you shouldn't have more than 15 parts per billion lead in your drinking water. 5,000 parts per billion is considered hazardous waste. Now, they found in one house, this woman had 13,200 parts per billion, which when you do the math, it's 880 times the level that you should have. You understand? 880, I would say it's pretty much, wouldn't you? You see the point? So 880 times. So this was found in one house. And so anyway, they're finally doing something about it, and I don't think, you know, nobody wants lead, okay? So I just wanted to show you that too. Greed, and because they didn't want to spend the money. You see, they knew again that this was a problem, but they didn't want to do anything about it. And who was they? These are the people in charge. And I don't know if you know the story, Flint, Michigan was taken over by a manager. They didn't trust the mayor, so they put a manager in. I think it was Rick Snyder, the governor, and by the way, they want him to resign because evidently he knew about it and he didn't want to disturb his friends. I don't know how many friends he's got left, but anyway. Now, I don't know if you know about Nigeria. This is another country over in West Africa, and this is a problem. Their country is being overwhelmed by shell oil. Now, I want to show you a video of Nigerian oil. I don't know if anybody knew about that. That's a real big mess. And they destroyed the country because of oil.
The United Nations says this is just one of the places where decades of devastating environmental damage and pollution has been caused by the oil company Shell. It's Ogoni, in the heart of Nigeria's vast oil-producing region, filmed by our crew in June last year. The UN report released last week says it will cost $1 billion and 30 years to clean up the mess. But local leaders say the report, which cost $10 million and 4 years to produce, is a waste of money, as it just repeats what they've been complaining about for 30 years.
I feel this is quite outrageous. I think it is inhuman, and I am completely disappointed even by the reaction of the Nigerian government to say, we are going to study the report and come out with something, when they are saying people are dying by the day. I think what the least the Nigerian government ought to have done the next morning after the report is to revoke the license of Shell.
But there's no chance of the Nigerian government revoking Shell's operating license because of the damage. More than 90% of the government's revenue comes from oil exports, giving oil companies like Shell tremendous political leverage. And local people say that even in light of the report, Shell, as it tries to clean up the mess, is still causing more damage and pollution to the area.
Take a look at this man-made pool of crude oil. It's supposed to be part of the cleanup operation, but local people tell us it's having the opposite effect, because when it starts to rain, the pool rises and flows into the rivers and streams where many people get drinking water from.
They also say Shell is covering much of the damaged area with sand, so they call it a cover-up, not a clean-up. The Nigerian government and Shell say they're working on a plan to try and reverse the devastating impact of oil production in this region. But many people feel the damage to the environment will only end when Nigeria's oil does. Yvonne Dege, Al Jazeera, Ogoniland, Nigeria.
Yeah, Al Jazeera, they're a good news reporting group, but I think they tend to leave the U.S. All right, now, I want to show you this other thing about Nigeria. I'm telling you, if I had the hours, I could have showed you a lot of stuff. Anyway, the price of oil, the impact of oil pollution in the Niger Delta communities. So anyway, this is just an article here. I don't have any videos on it, but if you read what's happening, it says our crops are no longer productive, no fish in the water, and So says this farmer. Okay, so this is what's happening in these countries. Evidently, you know, they're poor, the people have no say. Shell goes in there, cuts, chops, and digs, get as much oil as possible, pollutes, burns, do whatever they can to destroy the area, and then they're still there. So this is another problem. I don't know if any of you know that problem, but that's been around for years, and it does not seem to be getting any better because these companies have money, and money evidently controls everything. And as you can see, nothing's getting done except pollution. All right.
Seems like a breakdown of government across the world.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening. And that's why the people have to speak up. And as you see, the people who live in these towns, they don't have any say because, you know, they're poor. Right. And this is unfortunately what's happening. And you think the consciousness of let's say the CEO of Shell, I don't know who he is.
Not
I'm sure
even
he's a
that,
friend
but
of
what
Lee
about the
Raymond.
Nigerian president? You know, how they're damaging their lands.
Yeah, they're probably in cahoots. The president, I don't think he helps either.
Well, no, he's probably getting.
He's probably a millionaire.
Didn't they just find a break in that one that runs underneath Mackinac? Wasn't there issues with the oil pipeline coming from Canada just recently also?
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, well, one good thing about that President Obama did not want the Exxon pipeline, right? See, it's all about oil and money. And now, by the way, I'm going to show you how one of the presidential candidates, I have a video of him. He's saying we're going to reinstall the Exxon pipeline. You're going to see that. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You
Oh, my God.
figure it out. Yes, you're going to see it. Yeah. I'll just tell you this. He's got the same 3 letters as the word crazy. Anyway, so here we see Nigeria. Dirty hands. Look at that. Nothing like a nice sheen. Rainbow, yeah? And now, I want to talk to you about palm oil. Now, this is something, too, that I want to show you. What is palm oil? Well, palm oil comes from palm trees, and it's a big issue, and I'll explain to you what that is. And this is really a heartbreaker, because not only are they cutting down the rainforest to grow other trees, which do not help the ecosystem, they're killing animals, specifically the orangutan, and I'm going to explain that, too. So I'm like covering everything I can here. There we go. Let's see. There it is. Okay, Indonesia is killing the planet for palm oil. Okay, now Indonesia is really a rogue nation when it comes to greed and pollution. What they do is, let me put it this way, in 1998, literally the whole world caught on fire because what happened was in Indonesia, in that whole area, there was a guy named Suharto. And what he did was, he owned a lot of land. Well, he did. Well, he not owned, but he sold land to both his relatives and his cronies. And what they did was, they cut down a lot of the trees to plant other crops. And in order to get rid of the trees, they burnt the trees. Now, they were expecting the water to come from the rain to put out the fires. But what happened was, since they cut down the trees, they messed up the atmosphere, therefore the rains didn't come, and the fires just kept going and going, polluting a large portion of the planet. The same thing happened in Houston. What a wonderful city to get burnt, right? Well, they got punished again, because in 1999, Mexico was cutting down the trees in northern Mexico and burning them. And guess where the smoke would be? That's right, Houston. I'm telling you, these people will never learn. If they cut down the trees, you have no rain. And what made it worse was climate change at that time too. Remember, that was only in '98, I believe the time was. Okay, anyway, so here we see about Indonesia, okay? And let me go back to this. Hey, finally, it seems like things are working out here, right? Okay, let me show you more about palm oil. Now, I got a lot of facts. Let's begin with the orangutan. I want to show you what they are. These are very nice animals, okay? Where do orangutans live? They live in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the islands, okay? They're very nice animals, and unfortunately, they do not reproduce a lot like some organisms do. These are known as K-selected animals because they have relatively long childhood. They don't reproduce that many offspring in one time, and they do have long parental care. So orangutans are quite interesting and lovable, except There, look at that when I touch this. See the leaves moving? Isn't that cool? I tell you, modern technology at its best, right? All right. Anyway, let's take a look at Say No to Palm Oil. And we'll get this. Come on. There we go. Wow, what do you know? Okay, so palm oil. Okay, palm oil. This is a website. And again, I'm going to show you what they look like. The palm and the beans. Anyway, they have to cut, chop, and dig the rainforest, and when you do that, to plant other trees, you're going to kill off the animals and other wildlife there, see? Palm oil is a type of edible vegetable that is derived from palm fruit grown in the African oil palm tree. Oil palms are originally from Western Africa, but can flourish wherever heat and rainfall are abundant. Today, palm oil is grown throughout Africa, Asia, South America, etc. And most of it, 85%, is produced and exported from Indonesia and Malaysia, okay? So, where do we use palm oil? Well, I'll show you. And you all use it even here, which is unfortunate. But before I do that, let me show you more about biodiversity loss, and then we'll show you pictures, okay? Well, here's some more stuff. They just say essentially the same thing. Of all of the world Wildlife Fund's priority agricultural commodities, palm oil poses the most significant threat to the widest range of endangered megafauna. Fauna, there's a difference between flora and fauna. Flora refers to plants, hence the word flora, like flower, florist. Fauna refer to animals. So wherever you see the term fauna and flora, fauna refer to animals. So here they're talking about megafauna, which means large animals such as tigers, elephants, rhinos, and orangutans, you see? And as we can see, unfortunately, they killed a lot of these animals just so they can raise palm oil trees. And I'll show you what that looks like. I have a lot of information on that too. Okay, here we see some tracts of land that were destroyed in Indonesia in order to plant palm trees. I'm going to show you what they look like. They don't look like the regular palms you see in Florida, okay? By the way, that reminds me, I'm going to ask you a question. What do the state of Florida and people have in common? Anybody know? They both have palms. Get it? Okay, just thought I'd mention that. Levity there. All right. Well, you know, now you know what my class suffered through. Okay. Anyway, here we have, what does orangutan mean? It means, here, person, and hutan means forest, so person in the forest. Now here, look at this. How would you like to come home someday, folks, and see your home in ruins, right? Well, this is what this poor orangutan did. Now maybe he was also tranquilized with a dart, as you see there. I believe that's what happened. But anyway, as you can see, this is what's left of his home. I'm sure nobody here would be happy. You go home, you park your car, expecting to go home, relax, go to the kitchen, relax in the living room, whatever. Everything's destroyed. Well, by the way, that's what unfortunately, what's happening in Syria, if you've seen what's happening to Aleppo and these other towns. I mean, they're just getting destroyed, and you see the poor kids walking over the rubble of their homes. It's kind of heartbreaking. But anyway, here we see a poor orangutan. Now, here we see some other pictures. It says her mother was killed by the palm oil industry. This one, oil palm plantations may cause deforestation, water pollution, climate change, habitat loss, and soil erosion. Okay? Here we see palm trees. Isn't that something? These are what are taking the place of the once lush rainforest trees. Acres and acres, or hectares actually. Whenever we talk about land, in the U.S. we use the word acre. All over the world, if you see some articles, they use the word hectare. Yes?
I'm sorry, Eddie, what is palm oil for?
I'm going to show you.
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah, I got pictures.
Oh.
That's right, don't worry. I got everything. You're going to see it. I come equipped with everything. Don't worry. You're going to see it. I got that there. So, a hectare, by the way, is equivalent to 10,000 square meters. That's about 2.47 acres, to put it in English terms. But all over the world, we use the metric system, okay? Now, I'm going to show you what we use it for. First of all, here are the industries. Let me explain this. Industries using palm oil. Palm oil and kernel-based ingredients are found in approximately 50% of the products on supermarket shelves. And I got more pictures for you, so including food and non-food items. It may be used as simple frying oil, but other markets make use of palm oil too. So we have it in consumer food, snacks, personal care products, biofuel, animal feed, pharmaceuticals, industrial, food service. Now, here we see the ingredients is a list of, which is really palm oil, but they have other names. They'll say vegetable oil, vegetable fat, palm kernel oil, palm fruit, palmitate, palmitoid. You see all that? Sodium lauryl sulfate. All these are names of palm oil. So, you may see, you actually have palm oil in other ingredients, but it wouldn't say specifically palm oil, but it is these other names you'll see, which is palm oil. Now, here we see some photos of stuff you'll find them in. Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? Wait, I have more pictures. How about that? See, cookies, candies, food. You see all that? You got makeup, you got cosmetics, cleaning products, Ben Gay and personal care product, cookies, candy, ice cream, a whole bunch of stuff, soda. Isn't that cool? Neat, huh? So if you see something like sodium stearyl sulfate or something, that is palm oil. Now,
Why don't they just say palm oil? Why do they have to change the name?
that's a good question. You'll have to ask the chemist or the people who put all this together. That's a good question. Maybe the food industry knows.
It's a natural ingredient. Why do they have to make it so complicated?
It's a good question. I think they want to fool you. Maybe if you're against palm oil, you see some other name. Well, that's not palm oil. Let's just use it, you see.
So there's two things, and one is how they derive it. They can add other chemicals to it to change like the makeup of it, depending on what it's being used in. If it's being used in food or in makeup, the consistency. And so by changing the chemicals that they add to it, it makes it into like the palmol sulfate or whatever it is. But then also people were starting to get up in arms about palm oil, and so they were stopping buying products. So they started changing the name so that people would start buying their products again because they didn't see palm oil in them.
The deceiving.
The same thing happens with the seafood industry, changing the names of fish so that if it's an endangered fish, they'll change the name of it all of a sudden so that you think you're eating something different.
That reminded me of a story. Once we found a mutant fish. We found one that had two of these. It had two knees. You know what we did? We called them a toonie fish. Okay. Here. All right. All right. Now let's get to the lovely politicians, folks. We got great ones here, okay? This is incredible. So, let's start with some of these. And I really prepared this for you because this is really incredible to show you the lengths that politicians will go to appease their so-called constituents, and they know it's going to destroy the planet, but as long as they get their votes, it's okay. You see the point? Let's start with Mr. Cruz. As I mentioned, he's got 3 letters in his name that are in the word crazy. I just thought I'd mention it. You can figure out which ones they are. Anyway, so what I did was, we have to go to 3:03 minutes here.
All right, Gene, thanks so much.
Folks there, I said, what's the difference? Look right between regular
Hey, this guy, skip the ad. Watch, I got all this planned.
Gene, thanks so much. With that, we'll move over to Ted Cruz, who is on his
farmer. He leaned back, said, want that?
Yeah, we got to go over here. There it is. It's right there. There it is.
All right, Gene, thanks so much. With that,
Texan, we know something about that.
Yeah.
North Dakota has risen as a powerful energy haven, and we are going to keep the federal government the heck out of the way and develop our resources here in the United States of America. We will prohibit the federal government from regulating fracking, and we will build the Keystone Pipeline.
Now, what the people are applauding, you see, they're applauding him. Hey, it's the end of the world. They're applauding it, you see, the Keystone Pipeline and fracking. You know what fracking is? That's where they have to drill to get gas, and then they actually fracture the rocks, and then they get more methane, which is what we don't need, you see? So this is how the people are applauding. And this is what happened too at the last convention when Romney spoke. Everybody applauded when he made fun of Obama. Obama wants to save the planet and prevent the oceans from rising. And I care about your families. You see how ridiculous that was? What did one have to do with the other? But the families, let them try to work if they're under 6 feet of water. You see? In fact, I have that here if you want to see it. I will show you that if you want. But that just shows you these politicians will do anything. In fact, I will show that before we finish today because it's real cool. Now, here we have this other guy who also has the last name as his brother. What a coincidence. This guy, Jeb, look what does, see? His energy plan doesn't even mention renewables. Why? Because he loves oil. You see? So anyway, see, I'll have to get your name. We'll have to talk. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we have to, he's another one. Okay. Next, let's see this one. Here we go. Hillary Clinton. She's rhetoric on coal. Shifting rhetoric on coal is a departure from her coal miner roots. And first she says, well, we have to get rid of coal. And then she says, well, I'm going to make sure we have it for another 20 years. You see, something like that is come here. Well, she did say it, but then she has to change. So let's see what she says here.
I say, Hank, these burgers sure taste darn juicy and flame grilled.
You never guess they come from a microwave. What's a microwave?
Stupid commercials.
Ballpark flame grilled patties. Juicy. Like straight from your microwave.
Let's see what. That.
Future generations will look back and wonder, what were we thinking? How could we possibly be so irresponsible? I'm just a grandmother with 2 eyes and a brain. And I know what's happening in the world is going to have a big effect on my daughter and especially on my granddaughter. It's hard to believe there are people running for president who still refuse to accept the settled science of climate change, who would rather remind us they're not scientists than listen to those who are. You don't have to be a scientist to take on this urgent challenge that threatens us all. You just have to be willing to act. America has made a start in addressing this threat. The renewable energy industry prevents as many as 70,000 asthma attacks and 3,000 premature deaths each year. It created over 50,000 new jobs and drove more than $35 billion in investment last year alone. But we have to do much more, and we have to do it now. On day one as president, I will set 2 ambitious national goals that will test our capacities, but that I know are within our reach. First, I will ensure we hit a target of having more than 500 million solar panels installed across the country by the end of my first term. Second, we'll set a 10-year goal of generating enough renewable energy to power every single home in America. Over the next few months, I will lay out a comprehensive agenda to meet the climate challenge and make America the world's clean energy superpower. We're all going to have to do our part. But that's who we are as Americans. We don't hide from change, we harness it. We're on the cusp of a new era. We can have more choice in the energy we consume and produce. We can create a more open, efficient, and resilient grid that connects us, empowers us, improves our health, and benefits us all. The decisions we make in the next decade can make all of this possible. Or they can keep us trapped in the past.
All right.
We cannot wait any longer. It's time we stand for a healthier climate, stand for cleaner air, for science, for innovation, for our children, for reality, for the future.
All right. So let's, if she becomes president, which I hope we do have a Democrat in there, let's hope she keeps to her word.
You've heard a lot about
Now,
habits, like avoid junk food.
because let's face it, at least the Democrats are more environmentally aware. All right, so let me just show you this other thing. I'll forget about the coal and employment in a minute. I wanted to show you this that had to do with Romney, because this is really a classic. And what they did with this is really amazing. I have to show you this because I show it to my environmental classes. And this just shows you what these people will do and how they think. But the worst part is, when he was at the convention and he said this, that I care about your families, he got an applause, you see, from all the people who evidently don't care about the environment. So let's see what happens. So it says Romney, and what they did was, and Sandy. I don't know if you remember, Sandy was the hurricane that happened during the election. Romney and Hurricane Sandy. And they put this together. It's really ingenious. Wait a minute, Hurricane Sandy. Just a second. Watch, I have to play this for you because it's real cool. Let's go to the video. There it is. Yeah, Romney versus Sandy. This is an incredible piece.
President Obama promised to begin to slow the rise of the oceans.
You hear the mocking? Watch. Oh, they're laughing. Ha, 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 that's funny, right? Now, watch. This is the killer.
And to heal the planet.
Wow, we can't have that.
My promise is to help you and your family.
I don't see the relationship, but okay, here comes the good part. Watch. There's images of Hurricane Sandy were superimposed on this. So the people are applauding, you know, the end of their lives, so to speak. See? That took place in New York and New Jersey. So, yeah, helmet right climate changes, and you see that? So, I think that's brilliant, isn't it? These people put this stuff together, and that's the way I feel. Why are they applauding? I don't know.
Because they had a sign to applaud.
Maybe.
That's how it works.
Good point. You know, it's like they want to die. Hey, let's die quick, take away, you know, let's...
On the show.
Yeah, so anyway, okay, let's do this one more on coal, and then we'll wrap it up. And look, I could speak for hours here with different topics. Oh, I had one more about melting ice here. Okay, let's put this one. Wait, I got to show you one more. But let's see what we have here. Coal and employment. This came with Hillary pledges
Because
to
we're
kill.
going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business.
This person is running for president? She really went with the all put Americans out of work
See,
line.
this is
tone deaf.
so.
I come from generations of coal miners, both sides of my family. Some were fresh off that boat. Coal jobs put food on the table and a roof over their heads. I find it weird, considering Democrats pride themselves on being the party of the poor and middle class. Well,
when you're white, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto. You don't know what it's like to be poor.
ever been to once booming coal towns in Appalachia? Lots of white privilege there. I've seen that level of poverty. I remember as a kid, I was visiting and we went to this yard sale. There was this woman who was selling half-used bottles of Suave shampoo and toothpaste. That image still sticks in my mind because it was so shocking to me as a kid to see that level of desperation in America. Poverty isn't a race issue, it's a human issue. To see the government intentionally regulate away the coal industry and destroy jobs in those areas, that's twisted. Yes, Hillary says she's going to replace those jobs. This is the arrogance of government. They think they're all knowledge. The market is so complex. You can't centrally plan it.
Let's regulate one industry out of existence and artificially prop up another. Down with coal, up with green energy.
No, what are you doing? Now, some people might say, aren't coal mining jobs dangerous? Yes, there is definitely risk involved in coal mining, but a job is better than no job opportunities at all. Then they might ask, well, what about green energy jobs? Evergreen solar, beacon power, Nordic wind power, Abund solar, Razor technology, Solandra. These and dozen others are taxpayer-funded green companies that have gone bankrupt. Are you against progress? It would be one thing if the market deemed green energy as profitable. There would be a gradual shift from coal jobs to green energy. These would be actual steady jobs. What's happened?
Anyway, you get the point. She is, you get the point, right? You know, she evidently loves the coal industry. Okay, now, one more thing.
It's not just the coal industry, it's just the truth.
Well, maybe, but what you see, yes, but we have to get rid of coal or else we're getting rid of everybody. You understand? Okay. Now, let me just show you one more thing and then we'll pack it in. Here we see, this just comes from the Antarctic. Maximum size for Antarctic, for Arctic ice hits new low, okay? So we keep hearing these, and this is what we have. I don't want to show you more. Well, why not show this? Let's see, this one lasts for a couple, 28 seconds. And this one's not bad. This really does show you how the Arctic ice is melting a little bit. And if you look at the dates, let's see, it comes and then it goes, okay? See? February, March. So anyway, this shrunk a little bit. So this was something that they were showing us. Okay, anyway, I think I've given you enough. Like I say, I could be here for hours or years, perhaps, to show you everything that's happening thanks to our love of money and greed. And like I say, politicians don't help the matter any unless they have guts, right? We need gutsy politicians. Okay, so without any further ado, are there any questions? Anything? Yes, sir.
Yes, you mentioned the bad guy, Raymond, who's in charge of Exxon. What was his last name?
Lee Raymond. Lee was his first name. Raymond was his last name.
Oh, Raymond, so his name is Lee?
Lee Raymond, yeah. Here, I'll show you. By the way, if anybody wants business cards, I have them here. Yeah, let's just double check that. Lee Raymond. The new guy is named Rex Tillerson. Isn't it interesting that they both have 3 letters in their names?
And if you want to feel like you can make a difference about all these things that David has shared with us, we have a new environmental studies concentration that's launching in fall here at OTIP. So feel free to take a look at that. You can contact me with any questions. Our Ecology Club, our Green Initiatives, our Students for Social Justice are all ways you can get involved on campus to make some day-to-day differences so that we can change all of the things that we've seen.
She has a question. Yes, go ahead.
Do you support veganism?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes. Now, what is a vegan, folks? A vegan is a vegetarian that does not have any milk or eggs or honey or anything like that. Yes, if it's kind of hard to do these days, you must admit. Yes, I support that. And by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you cut out the beef, it's actually good for the planet, because when you raise cows, they produce methane as part of their digestive system, and that's a large contributor to the greenhouse gas, because methane accounts for about 19% of the greenhouse gas. So it's also produced from leaks as well as animals, including all the domesticated animals. Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. By the way, like I said, I have business cards here. I got everything on here. If you want to contact me, feel free. You can get me anytime, because I'm here for you all. I'm here for the planet. I'm here for everybody and every organism, including bacteria, protists, fungi, animals, plants, and the archaebacteria, which are the ones that can withstand extreme environments. Well, thank you for coming. And, if anybody wants some books, either email me or I'll tell you a couple here. They come in 3 types. You got soft cover, The Earth Is My Patient. This one is soft cover, prognosis disaster and hardcover prognosis disaster.
Okay.
Very interesting title.
Question for you.
Thanks again for coming.
People like
And go out and recycle and save the planet.
Aggressive